We already possess all the answers we need, although sometimes we might just need a little nudge to hear them.
All these are mirrors to describe what's happening in a specific life situation and how we can possibly move forward.
Having the language of the universe decoded for us through these powerful guiding gems can really help us through anything.
They represent different phases, different experiences. They represent all of the life experiences that we could possibly have. It's really powerful. A lot of times people are surprised with how deep and accurate it can be.
Hi guys, I'm Sarah, and you're so very welcome back to the podcast. I'm so thrilled and grateful to have Dina Berrin on the episode today. A wonderful tarot reader, astrologer, and intuitive coach, very well known for her deeply intuitive, accurate, and empowering insights. So, get cozy, find some self-care space with an open heart, and enjoy. Hello, Dina.
Hi, how are you, Sarah?
I'm great. How are you? It's lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you too.
Thank you for taking the time to come on to the podcast today. I appreciate you. And I'm excited to hear everything about everything you do.
I had a grandmother who was very interested in astrology. And she taught me, she taught me from I'm trying to think, maybe like I was 7 years old. She would start talking about people like they were their astrological sign. She would describe people and she's like, oh, the Scorpio or the Leo or the Capricorn. And I started to, I'm like, or she would, say sometimes, of course they did that. They're a Leo, or of course they did that. They're a Virgo or whatever. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? So I started to learn about astrology from her, kind of like off the cuff at a very young age. And I've always been interested in astrology. And I think that what happened, though, fast forward to when I got out of college, I moved to New York City, and I was working at, I have a degree in exercise physiology, and I worked in corporate fitness, and then I was like, I'm going to try something else. And I left and I went to a hotel gym, and I ran like gyms for hotels. And these hotel gyms were open 24 hours a day. They were open all the time. And I felt like all I did was work all the time. And I noticed that people left when they left work a little bit early. I would work 16-hour days. And when they left, they went to a class. And I realized if I'm ever going to see the light of day again, I'm going to need to find a class. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I started looking. And anyway, I found a class on tarot. And I said, you know what? I'm going to try it. So I started taking tarot class, and literally from the first class, I was hooked. I wanted to learn. And so anyway, I started with one teacher, and that teacher kind of taught spurts. And I felt like teaching in spurts wasn't enough for me. Like when I commit to something, I'm all in. So I found another instructor, two instructors, actually. They were a married couple, Wald and Ruth Ann, and I studied with them. They taught every Monday night. So every Monday night from 6 to 9 p.m., they would have a class. And what they would do is they would teach the entire tarot deck in 1 year. So if you spend 1 year with them, you learn the deck. But what they would do is, so you don't, it's not like the same class every year. It was kind of like what I call the rotisserie chicken effect. Every year they would teach the deck, but in a new way. So this year we're teaching it to you from the world of symbolism. The next year they're teaching it to you through the world of color. The next year they're teaching it to you through their titles. Or every year was something different. And I went every Monday night for 8 years. And in that time, I learned the tarot deck upright, upside down, inside out, kind of like I learned it in every way possible. And then through that, because the tarot deck has numbers, I started becoming interested in numerology. And because the tarot deck has symbols, I mean, symbolism was always something that I worked with. And interestingly, the tarot deck also has a connection to astrology because the cards have astrological associations. So I had, a little bit of an education in astrology from my grandmother, and that never went away. But I felt like now being able to associate that with the deck, all of a sudden my knowledge of astrology increased exponentially, and I was able to then work with astrology. So I was doing numerology, astrology, tarot, color, symbolism, and I started doing readings because it was funny. I never really planned to do readings. I don't even know what I wanted to do with it, but my interest was always just to learn it. Like, I am a forever student. Like, I am curious. I want to know like what's happening underneath the hood of the car. I want to know how the sausage is made, so to speak. And I just wanted to know. And my husband, who's a businessman, said to me, "Can you do this?" I'm like, "What, after 8 years of class and God knows how many other things that I've studied, can I do a tarot reading?" Yes, of course. He said, "Well, why don't you?" And so there was a tea salon. We live in New York City, and it was a letter T salon down like in the Gramercy Park area. And he said, "Why don't we go in there and just, see if they would want a tarot reader?" So we approached them, and I explained, I'm like, I could do readings, for people having tea. And the owner said to me, "Come back on Saturday. I'll put you at the bar, with a little cup of tea. And when people come in, I will introduce them to you, say, here's our tarot reader. Would you like for her to come to your table and do a reading?" And so when they did, she said to me, "If they say yes and you want to go to their table," she said, "you can charge whatever you'd like." And she said, "Just give me 20%. Mm-hmm. And I would walk out of there on the weekends with $500 a day. Like, I would make, and my husband, who's a businessman, he's like, "Now that's what I'm talking about," So that kind of started things off. But and then I started working for restaurants, and I started doing parties and events, and I started doing a lot of work for a tea salon here in the city called Alice's Teacup. And Alice's Teacup is an Alice in Wonderland themed tea shop, very cute. And they have like an event space. And so a lot of people would come, they would have baby showers, bridal showers, all these things. Did a ton of these events. But sometimes people would come and say, "I'm doing a kids party." And tarot cards are not exactly the greatest medium for children. So I realized I needed to do something else. So I was like, I had a 6-year-old kids party the next day, and I'm like, I can't bring my cards. So what I did is I ran down to the fashion district, and I just started buying buttons and little like knickknacks of shapes of things, like the Eiffel Tower and a tree and a wishing well, and like all these just little things that I could just put that were little symbols. And this is what started what is now my charm kit, because all of these, so like, when you create a charm bracelet, like for example, here's a bicycle, and here's a starfish.
I love it.
This is I'll just show you one more. This is like a skipper's wheel, kind of thing. So what I did is I put, so I have like 100 or so charms in here. And what I do, this is now a huge favorite of what I do. I just did a kid party this weekend, and the girls were climbing all over me. They couldn't get enough of this. And so I do charm readings, and I use the symbolism to get a meaning. So this kind of started a whole new arm of my business. And I started not only doing charm readings, I started making charm kits, and then selling charm kits, and then teaching people how to use their own charm kits. So I kind of got into teaching classes, and in that time I also became a palm reader, and then I started teaching palm classes. So I feel as though it all started with my grandmother. To give you a very long answer to the question that you asked, it all started with my grandmother when I was a little girl. But I think that my curiosity never died, and it continues to branch off. Like, I'm interested in the chakras. I'm interested in Reiki. I feel as though as I continue to grow and change. And then in 2018, I became a certified life coach. And I realized that for so long, all of the readings that I did were just me talking at people. Like, this is what I see. Here's your fortune kind of thing. But all of a sudden, like a light bulb went off to me through my process of the education of becoming a life coach. And I realized that I should not just be talking at people. It's a conversation. So, just asking some questions and, how's that showing up in your life? Or, what is that costing you? Or like just a few questions to kind of get a little deeper. And my readings just exploded with depth and just connection. And I don't know, it just like I was reaching people in a whole new way. So I feel as though now my readings and my work, I mean, I've written a book about my most recent book is it was a book about tarot, numerology, and charms. Because now when I work, I don't just do tarot. I mean, I can just do tarot, I can just do numerology, or I can just do charms. But I find that when you do a reading, it's like if you get a message from one location and then you get the same message, like you keep getting the message, I feel as though it's almost like when you like if someone's talking to you about a movie and like, oh, did you see this movie? Did you see this movie? Like you hear about it like 5 times, you're like, I gotta go see this movie kind of thing. It's like when you start getting a message that is repeated, like if you get the message that maybe it's time for a change, and then you see it again and you see it again. And then I think, well, how is change showing up for you in your life? Like, what's your experience with change? Some people are very resistant to change. So if you are someone that sees change and wants to kind of like hightail it in the other direction, maybe that's something that we can work with. So I feel as though all of my work and then my combination with the coaching brought me into a space where I can help people going through like whatever transition. Like I work with women that are maybe they are, they're full-time workers and then they're becoming moms. So what's it like to transition into this space where do you want to be a working mom? Do you want to be a stay-at-home mom? Like what will that mean for you? Like from your identity and how you view yourself. And then I work with women that, that are maybe transitioning, like they're getting divorced or they're retiring or they're moving. Like I work a lot. Like I find that I attract a lot of women that are in a middle space. Like they're not quite who they were and they're not yet who they're becoming, and they don't quite know how to navigate it. And I feel that what I do is I use my experience with numerology and tarot and astrology and we do a little charm work. And, I feel as though, and my coaching, I feel as though I am here to support them to make sure that they make a nice, soft, happy landing. So that is kind of where it all started and how it's evolved to this point. And I am a full-on student still of life while I am sharing what I know. I feel as though I want to keep learning from other people, but I also want to keep sharing what I know to let people know that regardless of where you are, you're right on time.
Yes, I love that. It sounds like you were destined for this, from a very young age. It was your destiny.
I do feel as though, and I will, that I did have a couple of careers in there. Like I worked in fitness for 10 years, and then I left and I worked in a sales position. I worked for a company for 20 years. I worked and I worked as a salesperson. I was very good and they loved me, but they knew that I did this on the side. And people used to come up to me at my desk and they'd be like, what's up with this full moon? Or what's going on with Mercury retrograde? And my boss once came up to me and he said, listen, I don't mind what you do. Like, it's your life. You do whatever you want outside of here. He said, but I don't want to hear about it here. He's like, no tarot, no astrology. He said, when people come and, gather around your desk and they want to hear what you're saying, he said, not here.
Okay.
We don't do that here. And I felt kind of like I needed to kind of like pack that up and hide that away when I was at work, which is why when COVID happened, and I have 3 children, and then all of a sudden I had 3 children in Zoom school in my house, and it was crazy. Like everyone had a crazy experience with COVID. I realized that that was kind of where we hit the fork in the road. And so since COVID, I feel like for some people, you know, it was both a blessing and a very challenging time. But I do think that would it not have been for COVID, I would have still been struggling to do both. And it opened the door for me to do this in a much bigger and more fulfilling way. And I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah. Imagine somebody's listening here who's a bit skeptical about tarot. How would you describe the synchronicity and the reading change when you're giving a reading for like private, intimate sessions?
Well, first of all, if people are skeptical, I am not here to tell them to believe something else. But I want to explain tarot in the way that maybe we can, I like to give metaphors sometimes, just to kind of, so I look at tarot and numerology and all of these as tools. So imagine the tarot deck is a tool, just like, say, you know, you have a phone, and on your phone, you have a calculator. And so what if I said that I don't believe in calculators? I don't believe in, I don't like whatever it is that that you use as your tools for your day. The tarot has 78 cards, and these cards are like mirrors. They represent different phases, different experiences. They represent all of the life experiences that we could possibly have. And all these are mirrors to describe maybe what's happening in a specific life situation and how we can possibly move forward to look for either a solution or a way forward. So I feel as though the tarot deck is really like a storybook. And so would you say, I mean, yes, once again, like there are some books that are fairy tales out there. There are some books that are fiction out there, but there are a lot of amazing lessons that come from that. And I'm not saying that what's happening in the card is like you in your life, but I feel as though there's a lot of wisdom and a lot of information and like just depth and insight that we can get from the cards that we can apply to everyday life. And if you've decided that you have completely no interest in that and you're just not, some people like they just don't want, they think they've been brought up thinking it's the devil's work or, just don't do that kind of thing. I'm not here to force you, but I feel as though it is such a mind expanding experience if you are willing to get on and go for the ride.
Just a brief interruption to say thank you so much to all of you for listening with your open ears, your open heart every single week. I'm so grateful for you. For those of you who are new and for those of you who have been here since the beginning, everyone, I'm very, very grateful. 86.1% of you who listen to this channel aren't subscribed, and 13.9% of you who do listen to this channel are subscribed. I'd like to ask those of you who haven't subscribed to please subscribe to show your support for the channel and to help the channel grow and be suggested to others. If you feel called to like and comment, that would even boost this channel even further and reach more and help more people out there who might feel that they need this kind of content in their lives. Thank you so much, everybody. Now, back to the episode. Yeah, it's like tarot calls you if you're supposed to go there.
And I've done readings. It's funny because a lot of time, like I just did an event this past weekend, and almost everybody that sat down with me was saying this is my first reading. This is the first time I've ever experienced this. And I say, thank goodness. Like, I love being people's first experience because I know that they're going to have a positive experience with me. I do not predict doom and gloom. I am looking to give you insight. I'm looking to give you information, maybe handle your boss a little bit better, to maybe, you know, if you've gotten yourself into a little bit of a knot of a situation, maybe with a family member or a good friend, and you're just like, I don't know how to fix this. Well, tarot can help. Like, I just feel like there's a lot of different ways that we can use this. And once again, if you're open to it.
Yes. And you've worked in the corporate industry as well with sessions, haven't you?
Yes. I've done, I mean, I just did an event, a corporate event last week. I mean, I do a lot of, like earlier this month, it's already February, or in January, I did an event for a very large insurance company that was having a strategy meeting. And the theme of the year was going to be like, the sky's the limit, like anything's possible. And so like the night before all the strategy meetings started, they had a dinner, and they had invited me to the dinner to just have like a connection to the sky's the limit theme. And once again, it's like everybody from the top dog down wanted a reading. And because of my charms and because of just the way that I'm here to engage, like the way that I'm asking questions. And, you know, this is not just me talking like astro jargon at them. This is me talking about real life things. I mean, every single conversation is deep and meaningful. It's really powerful. It's powerful and I think that a lot of times people are surprised with how deep and accurate it can be.
Yeah. I love that you said accurate there, you know, because for somebody who is skeptical and has never had it before, they must be blown away.
A lot of times people are, and it was funny, this event that I did, I just did an event on Saturday night, and it was a woman's birthday, and her husband, you know, he knew I was coming. He greeted me. He was, you know, friendly enough. You know, he brought me into the room where I was going to be doing all the readings. I started at 8:30. They were planning to have me stay 2 hours. I left at 2 a.m.
Wow.
I stayed so long, and it was funny because it was getting late, and I could tell that it was getting quieter. I wasn't like looking out, and I was just in my own little room, so I didn't know what was actually happening in the rest of the party. But I could tell it was getting quieter. I'm like looking at it, I'm like, it's 1, it's getting later. And at 1:30, the door opened, and it was her husband, and he said, "It's my turn." Oh. And it was funny because when I walked in, he was kind of a little bit, I could tell he was like, all right, you know, you're here, you know, my wife hired you kind of thing. But he said, you would not believe what people have been saying when they walk out of the room. He said, you're not leaving without reading me. So I was like, I'm so glad. And we had a great reading, and like hugs and kisses all around. Like, they're like, we can't wait to see you again. Like, and I also like, I really like every single event that I do, every single client that I work with. I mean, I treat like family. I mean, everybody gets hugs. I'm here. I bring warmth. I bring connection. I bring a listening ear. And I let people know, like, anything that we discuss, first of all, is confidential. So if you want to go outside and talk about it, that's on you, because it's your story. I will not speak about it again. And sitting here, I will not judge you. There's no judgment. There's no expectation. There's no disappointment. Like, whatever it is, it is. So people feel like I'm a safe space, and that is the most important thing. I feel as though I want to make people feel safe, because in the world today, there's not a lot of spaces where people feel safe. There's not a lot of spaces where they can just say anything and it will be accepted. So I feel as though people have a fear of showing their real self. People have a fear of letting people see who their true, what their true thoughts, their true feelings, what's really going on. And I say, you know what? Leave the mask at the door.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay to be raw here. You're in this.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, how are you going to get information if you only tell me half the story? Like, I need to know exactly what we're talking about in order for me to give you like full information. So
Totally.
it's yeah, and sometimes I do have to deliver news that may not be the most desirable, but very often when we get there, they know. Like I feel as though deep down inside, and that's like another thing, because I'm a big, like I feel as though intuition is everything. Like it, and we all have intuition. Like what's your relationship with your intuition?
Oh yes, every single day, every single minute of the day, and my feelings is how I live my life.
But some people don't trust that.
Yeah.
So what they do is they ignore it, or they push it down, or they override it. They're like, you know what? I got that feeling that I shouldn't have done that thing.
Yeah.
But I did it anyway. And then it was a house of cards, or then, and then it fell apart from there, kind of thing. So I feel that if people would just trust themselves, and sometimes, like, I do believe like your intuition is like a muscle. And just like, we go to the gym to build our biceps, or to, or we have to build our, our discipline about not eating that extra cookie or whatever it is. We also need to build the muscle of our intuition. And if we don't use it, we don't develop it. And if we don't develop it, we have nothing to fall back on when it's just, you and the person that's looking at you in the mirror, which is you again, and making a decision.
Yeah, totally. And it's also about learning from our mistakes. When we know we shouldn't have done it because we had that hunch, the more times that happens, maybe the more we realize we end up relying on our intuition in the end.
It's so true. It's so very true. I agree.
You mentioned throughout your work that less is more. What would be one of the most powerful questions somebody could ask tarot?
Well, honestly, I am a big believer that the deck has its own agenda. Like the deck, so sometimes people will sit down with me and they'll say, I'd like to talk about love. And I start shuffling the cards, and the cards that come out have nothing to do with love. And I said, I know you want to talk about love, and we will ask again after we do this little reading that I just turned the cards out to, and the deck does not want to talk about love. The deck wants to tell you this. So I feel that what comes up in the cards is so a lot of times, like when I do parties and events, I always, if it's going to be like a short reading, I say, we're going to do a general reading and see what comes up. But usually when I start out any reading, I say, let's start out and just see what comes up in the cards, because a lot of times the question that I ask is, what do I need to know right now? Because it doesn't say, tell me about love, tell me about work. It's not giving a specific area of specificity.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's not even, it's just like your relationship with you, or I feel that it's just best to not put, like, especially when we first start. And then what I always say, I'm like, we're going to start with an initial reading. And then after I do the initial, you're going to ask questions. Whatever wasn't maybe addressed during that part of our segment of our time together, you can ask. And once again, I cannot promise that I'm going to get a very specific answer. Like when people say, what college is my child going to go to? Well, I don't have a tarot card that says Harvard. Like I don't have a card. Like I feel as though I can't give you an exact, I might be able to find out if it's cold weather, or if there's, if it's very hot in summer. I said, but I cannot give you an exact answer to things.
Yeah.
I can give you timing. I can give you, sometimes I can give you very specific information, but I can't promise that when you ask a very specific question that I will be able to answer it in the way that you feel has been fully answered. But very often the answer that they get is exactly what they need to hear.
Yes. Not necessarily expected, but what they need.
Correct.
Yes. That's interesting. And what about you in your daily life? Would you include tarot in your daily life?
Every day. To me, it's like breathing. I have a routine. I start out with, I do a meditation every morning, and that often is followed by a tapping session. And then what I usually do is I pull a card for the day, and then I pull a charm for the day. And then what I usually do is I take a picture of it because I want to revisit it at the end of the day and just kind of have a little bit of a moment myself thinking, where in the day did this show up, and how can I reflect on it from a different perspective if I take the card and the charm into consideration. Like, for example, today, the card that I pulled was the Empress.
Oh, yeah.
And the Empress is about love and connection and, the feminine, just like the divine feminine and how we nurture ourselves. And I don't know, when I saw that, it just made me smile, and I felt like I'm going to love Sarah. and I was going to be very happy. I just felt like, I'm like, you know what? I'm good with that. Like, I didn't even sometimes I ponder on it. Sometimes I write about it, but sometimes I'm just like, you know what? That's good enough, kind of thing. So and then I go into, I do either yoga or I do some type of movement. So I have a whole morning routine, and I feel as though tarot has been a part of that for as long as I can remember.
Amazing.
So I'm sure you have a morning routine too. What is your morning routine?
Well, very similar to yours, actually. I also do tapping after a meditation, but during a breathing technique. So it's like breathing, tapping, and then I pick a card. But I have oracle cards. I don't know how to use tarot.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, tarot, any card. So how do you use an oracle card?
Well, exactly like what you said. What do I need to know today? So I obviously connect to my higher self, cleanse my chakras, restore my chakras, kind of recharge them with golden light. And then I ask the question, what do I need to know today? And whatever comes out, I'm open. Yeah.
And so are your oracle cards, do they have words on them, or is it a picture?
So it depends. All of them have pictures, and they have a booklet that explains everything. I usually try and go with my intuition and know what they're trying to say, but then I read it.
Okay. Yes. Tarot cards are the same.
Yeah.
So tarot cards have a picture, and I understand some of the pictures are, some of them are I'm not sure what this is, because they are from olden days. These tarot cards are from the 1400s or even earlier. So some of them show people doing very, very simple, working out on a workbench, or, gathering, together, wearing flowing gowns and, toasting glasses and at castles and things like that. But I feel as though, what is the energy that you get from this image when you see it? Just like with your oracle cards. And do you have a bunch of different oracle decks?
I have 2 angel decks, a galactic heritage deck, and a shaman deck. So I kind of change them depending on the day.
I was going to ask you, so what calls you to the deck? How do you know what deck to choose?
Through my feeling, what I feel like choosing, whatever my intuition goes for.
It all goes back to intuition. So when I turned over that Empress card today, it made me happy. It made me feel like I'm this is going to be a warm hug. I just felt like today is going to be joy. Today is going to be connection. Today is going to be community. Today is just I just felt love. And I just so I said, that was enough. And so when you first start working with tarot, you don't you have to trust your intuition. You don't have to know. And once again, many decks come with a book. You can get a little message. And I think that people get afraid. They get they kind of get intimidated by the deck because there's 78 cards, and then we have to learn 78 meanings. And then what if we do the reversals? Then that's another 78 meanings. And how am I going to learn all the astrological and all and you're like, you know what? How do you eat an elephant?
Yeah.
One bite at a time. So I feel as though one step at a time, just like with your oracle decks. And what caused you to pick the oracle decks that you did?
Well, two of them were presents. The two angel decks were presents. And the Galactic Heritage card I chose because I studied quantum healing hypnosis. And that kind of stemmed from a galactic historian. So and then I was drawn to the shaman deck last year, I think, because I was studying lots of things shamanic.
And there's hundreds, if not thousands.
Yeah.
I mean, excuse me, there are thousands of tarot decks out there. There is a baseball tarot. There is a cat tarot. There is tarot decks for anything that you are interested in. And so I feel like find a deck that speaks to you.
Yeah.
And start looking through it. Start playing with it. It shouldn't feel like work. It should feel like play. And the next thing you know, you're pulling a card every morning because you want to know, how can this contribute to your day?
Yeah.
So what do you do with the message that you get from your cards every morning?
I take a picture like you and then I refer to it during the day, or sometimes I forget about it actually. But sometimes it comes back. I'm like, oh yeah. Yes, I usually refer to it during the day.
It's amazing like that, right? Yeah. And sometimes if you what would be a situation that you would refer to it?
So it actually depends. For example, if there's something that I should be doing that I'm not doing, so going out to nature, imagine that I have a lot of work and I'm not getting outside into nature, well then maybe a card might pop up to get me out into nature. Or another one might show up where I need to show my voice more, or it reaffirms if I'm having a fear or maybe a little bit of a lack of something, it reaffirms that that's what's happening and this is what I need to do and different things. So it really depends on the card.
I love that. And that's exactly, and once again, oracle cards, which I love, and I also have more oracle decks than I can count. I have a lot of decks just because I feel like, sometimes something just speaks to me and I'm like, you know what? And sometimes I do have a deck that it's in the room where I do my whole morning thing, because I like to go where there's quiet and I want, if my dog is sleeping, I'm like, you know what? I don't want my dog on the mat with me while I'm, doing my cards and my meditation. He'll start licking my hand. He'll start, so I feel like, you know what? I just want to creep in here. So usually I have 2 or 3 decks in there, and those are the ones that I usually use in the morning. But I have, sometimes I'm just in the mood for something else. Yeah. And I feel as though that is the beauty of divination. There's so many different ways to get messages.
Yes. So would you have a go-to deck, or is that your go-to deck just to not wake up the house when you're in your morning routine?
Well, the deck that I use in my little meditation and movement area is the This Might Hurt deck. And I love that deck. It's a tarot deck, and it is colorful and it's full of symbolism. And the woman who created the deck, she has written every card, she has a little bit of a personal story with it. So sometimes, I know what the cards mean at this point, but sometimes I'm just I want to hear her story. What is she talking about today? And so sometimes I'll read a little bit of that, or and she was saying how today with the Empress, the Empress wears a crown and she has 12 stars on the crown. And she mentioned that in her little write-up, that Rachel Pollack mentioned in her book, 78 Degrees of Wisdom, that the Empress wears the universe on her head, because it's 12 stars, which correspond to the 12 zodiac signs, and the 12 zodiac signs correspond to what's happening in the sky. So it was she's wearing the universe on her, on her crown, on her head. And I'm I love that. I'm maybe today I'll wear the universe on my head. Maybe today I'll come, and I'll just how can I just have a more open and more just welcoming vision of the day. I don't know, it just kind of like really hit me. I'm like, I love that. I love that she's wearing the universe on her head.
Yeah,
So,
but too amazing. If somebody wanted to find you or work with you, what kind of offerings do you have?
sure. Well, I do a lot of different things. First of all, I have a year-long program. It's called my alignment experience. And what I do in here is this is for women that are maybe in that moment of like they're trying to figure out who they are now. And also, like, for example, like a lot of times when we are moms, we give our lives away to our kids, and then when our kids leave the house, we're like, who am I? So I feel like it brings you back to yourself, but it also reminds you of maybe the things that you loved when you were a child. It connects you to like the root of who you are. We go through everything, your numerology, your tarot, your astrology, like we go through everything throughout the whole year. That's my biggest program. I also offer one-on-one. So if you want a one-on-one reading, my readings are usually a mix of tarot, numerology, charms kind of thing. And I know that I book people for an hour, but I am a big believer that I finish the session when it's done. So I'm famous for going a little bit over just because I want to make sure, like, do you have any questions? Was there anything that was left, unanswered or unclear for you? I teach, I do events, like I get hired for parties. Like I'm doing an event, like for example, this coming Saturday, I was invited by a funky furniture store downtown, and they're doing a Galentine's Day.
Oh, wow.
So it's going to be the furniture store. There's going to be a woman who does jewelry, a woman who's a baker, and a woman who's like a little fashionista, and me. So it's like a women supporting women. And I'm going to be doing readings at the furniture store, which is great. And I recently started speaking. I'm going to be speaking in March at this event called the Uplifter Live, which is women uplifting other women. Like I feel like I like to go where women are supporting other women. But if you want to work with me, I sometimes teach classes. I sometimes teach them online. It all depends what's happening month by month. But I do also offer recorded classes. Like I have a numerology class for 2026 that I recorded. It's $11 on my site. So I have everything from like big packages to parties and events to one-on-one coaching and my book. If you want to just learn on your own, my book teaches tarot, numerology, and charms in a very like storytelling type of way. I give a lot of stories of my life and how we do it. And so it's all on my website, which is my name, dinaberrin.com. And, I also have a YouTube. So if people want to, like, for example, if you have started to read the cards and you're stumped, you're like, I have no idea what the magician means. I have a video about the magician. Just hop on to YouTube, put Dina Berrin magician, you'll learn about the symbolism and everything. So I like to communicate and connect, and I invite anybody to email me, to DM me, to contact me, to learn more. I love that. I love meeting new people. I love hearing people's stories and giving them new ways to experience themselves.
Amazing. It sounds like you're very approachable.
I like that. Yes, I am, because I really feel like people want to feel welcome. People want to feel seen and heard. And I feel as though that's part of the reason, like that's part of my calling as well. It's like to know all this and then make it approachable and accessible for people that maybe are a little shy.
Yeah, that's so kind. You mentioned numerology. What's your take on this year being a 1 year?
Yes. So I am very excited that it's a 1 year. I know that last year for a lot of people was hard. And I also want to so I'm going to talk about the 1 year, but I also want to combine it with the fact that we, in about 2 weeks, are moving into the Chinese astrology year of the fire horse. So this is not only a 1 year. 1 years are new beginnings, fresh starts, clean slates, and it's a fire horse year. Like, think of the energy of a horse that was left alone in the barn without a harness or ropes, and the door was open. That horse is out of there, like, you know, like a bullet out of a cannon kind of thing. And I feel as though this year is going to be a very fast year. And it's going to be a year of fresh starts. And I think that, like, so we are not only in a new year, we are in a new cycle, because the universe works in 9-year cycles. This is a year 1, and we're going to be entering a new chapter. And I feel like people, I want to also say, you don't have to know everything right now. Like, people get very nervous, like, oh my God, new beginning, like this is a whole chapter. What is this chapter going to be about? Don't rush. Don't think that you're behind. We just you just need to know what's happening in this next step. And if because what happened also in the 9-year, it was also the year of the snake. It was a year of shedding. It was a year of releasing. And I feel as though what we're doing now is we're trying to figure out who we are in this new moment. Because what got you, maybe what you had in your previous cycle, if you want to continue having that, then you can continue doing exactly what you did, and that's what you will get. But if you are hoping for more and want to shoot higher and have bigger ambitions, what got you there won't get you to where it is you're looking to go. You're going to have to move into turbo gear. You're going to have to, ramp it up. So I feel as though, in what way do you want to ramp it up? In what way do you want to be bigger, brighter, more expansive, more abundant? So what does your future self, what does if you're in the 26, like you're Sarah 2026 now, what does Sarah 2027 look like? What does Sarah 2028 look like? And what are the things that you as Sarah 2026 are saying yes to, that Sarah 27 and 28 are saying no to, because she's now saying yes to other things? So the question is, who is your future self? Where are you going? And what needs to happen as we ramp up in this 1 year to make it happen? So if you have a clean slate and there are no you haven't been slotted into the JV team when you want to be on varsity, you haven't been pigeonholed to anything yet, and the sky's the limit and there are no walls, what is it that you want for yourself? That's how I experience the 1 year. Anything is possible, and the only thing that is limiting you is you.
Powerful. You gave me goosebumps.
Oh, thank you.
It's so powerful, and you're so right. I agree with you in everything you say. It's all of us.
I was going to say, how do you experience the 1 year?
Well, I feel it's quite fast already. There's a lot of energy momentum, even though it officially doesn't really kick off energetically until another 2 weeks, like the 17th, but I can feel the energy already. It's fast.
I agree. In the best way, because I feel as though the year of the snake was a little bit people were restless. They just wanted to get on with it. And I think that January, I felt it in January. January was a really busy month. And that is not typically my experience with January, because here, I don't know how cold it is in Madrid, but it is polar vortex cold here in New York. And all I want to do is just put another layer and hide underneath my comforter. And it has just been thing happening. And I love that. I love that. It just shows that the world is moving forward. And I feel like everybody wants change. I'm seeing that with protests around the world. I'm seeing that with people being tired of the uncertainty. People are being tired of what they're seeing on the news, and they want change. And so I feel as though that is what we are getting. It just happens that, so 2026 adds up to the number 10. If you add 2 and 0 and 2 and 6 together, that equals the number 10. And in the tarot, that is the Wheel of Fortune card. So I feel as though we are in a 1 year, we are in a fire horse year, but we are also in a Wheel of Fortune year. And the Wheel of Fortune in tarot is about cycles and waiting for the right time. And I feel that sometimes you want something so badly and you push for it, but it just isn't happening. And you're I just feel like I'm up against a brick wall. It's just not moving. And then you're okay, I'm going to stop trying. And then it's the door that you've been pushing up against, it opens. And you're like, what? Kind of thing. And so I feel as though that's the wheel of fortune. I feel as though sometimes when you push and you push for something, and it's just like the timing's not right. Like you don't have all the information yet. You're just not ready to move on yet. And then all of a sudden, it's time. And that is this year. Things are going to move. And on the wheel is like a Ferris wheel almost. Like, the wheel has a top and the wheel has a bottom. And at any time, we are either at the top of the wheel, like where we can see the entire perspective of everything that's happening because we have such this high view. And sometimes we're at the bottom. But the thing is, at any time, the wheel never stops moving. So if you're at the top, you're going down. And if you're at the bottom, you're going up. So do not fret. Do not say, oh, this, I'm at the bottom, like there's nothing happening here. Just you wait. You keep trying, you keep focusing on who your future self is, who you want to be. It's all happening.
Yes. I love that, Dina. Thank you so much for all of your wonderful wisdom. I cannot wait to buy your book.
Thank you.
I'll link all of your information in the show notes as well. So if any listeners want to click it quickly, they can get access quickly.
Thank you. It was so lovely speaking with you and seeing you, Sarah.
So lovely. And hopefully keep in touch.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
Take care. Stay warm.
You too.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.